Hi, I'm Lori. Welcome to our next chapter, Life After Corporate. My husband Ken and I retired from corporate life, and now we're building a freedom-first lifestyle through real estate and other projects while actually enjoying the life we worked for. We live in Boise, Idaho, but we also spend time in Seattle, where our yacht is kept in Elliott Bay. You'll see everyday life, hangar days, marina weekends, tennis and cooking, behind the scenes of our projects, and plenty of cameos from Lexi, our Pekingese Chihuahua with a big personality. And you'll also meet my 95-year-old mother. I take her to Catholic Church in Glens Ferry twice a month, and she's one of the best parts of this chapter. If you love real-life lifestyle, routines, and a little adventure, subscribe and come along with us. This week on Lady Georgia, we're starting with a little dinghy adventure. Before bringing the dinghy in to be serviced, Ken wanted to lower it off the boat and take it for a test ride. On a boat this size, even the small boat has its own process. The dinghy is a serious piece of equipment. It's about a 14-foot Novarania tender and weighs close to 900 pounds before adding people, gear, and fuel. Ken uses the winch to carefully lower the dinghy down from Lady Georgia, and then the three of us, Ken, Lexi, and I, head out for a quick ride around Elliott Bay Marina. As we motor out of the marina, we pass rows and rows of boats in their slips. Elliott Bay Marina is such a beautiful place to keep a boat, with views of downtown Seattle, Puget Sound, the Olympic Mountains, and the cruise ships coming and going from Pier 91. And right on cue, we get to see a large cruise ship leaving Pier 91, heading north for Alaska. During the summer, this is a daily part of the Seattle waterfront. Big cruise ships loading up passengers and heading out through Puget Sound towards the Inside Passage. After our little test ride, we motor back toward Lady Georgia, and from the dinghy we get such a great view of her sitting in the marina. Sometimes when you're on the boat all the time, you forget how big she looks from the water. Ken brings the dinghy back alongside and we get it tied up. It's always nice when a test ride goes smoothly, especially before sending it in for service. Later that evening, we switched from boat projects to dinner mode. We had the flybridge table set and ready for a casual dinner on board. Our friend Sue came over to join us for dinner, and it was one of those perfect Seattle evenings where the boat feels less like a project and more like our floating second home again. The next afternoon, Lexi and I went to explore one of Seattle's most interesting places, the Ballard Locks. The official name is the Hiram M. Chittenden Locks, but everyone around here calls them the Ballard Locks. They were completed in 1917 by the Army U.S. Corps of Engineers as part of the Lake Washington Ship Canal. The locks connect the freshwater of Lake Washington and Lake Union with the saltwater of the Puget Sound. One of the things I love about visiting the locks is that it's not just boats and engineering. The grounds are beautiful too. The Carl S. English Jr. Botanical Gardens surround the locks with walking paths, mature trees, flowers, and places to sit and watch all the activity. The locks have 3 big jobs. First, they move boats between the higher freshwater level of Lake Union and Lake Washington and the lower tidal waters of Puget Sound. Second, they help keep the lakes at a fairly consistent water level. And third, they help keep salt water from Puget Sound from mixing too much with the freshwater lakes. When I was there, several boats were going through the large dock. Some of them had to tie up alongside each other, which is called rafting. That's when one boat ties to the wall and another boat ties to that boat, so several boats can fit into the lock chamber at the same time. Watching the big boats go through the locks is fascinating, but it can also be a little stressful if you're the one on the boat. Everyone has to pay close attention, listen to the lock attendants, have their lines and fenders ready, and keep control of their boat in tight quarters. Sometimes boats are tied directly to the wall, and other times they have to raft up to each other, which means one boat ties to another boat instead of the wall. That can be nerve-wracking because your boat is very close to other boats, and if someone comes in too fast, misses a line, doesn't have enough fenders out, or doesn't follow directions, boats can bump into each other or get scratched. It's one of those boating moments where patience, communication, and experience really matter. From the viewing area, it's fun to watch, but when you're in the locks, you definitely understand why everyone is paying such close attention while the water level changes. This sailboat's mast was so tall, they had to raise the drawbridge behind it so it could pass underneath. Then Lexi and I went down below to see the fish ladder plaza. The fish ladder is there so salmon and other fish can move between Puget Sound and the Lake Washington watershed. Instead of going through the locks with the boats, the fish can swim up a series of steps called weirs that gradually raise them from saltwater level to freshwater level. When I've been here in the past, I've seen a lot more fish, but this time there were only about 3 fish trying to make their way through. It was still interesting to watch, but it was definitely quieter than other visits. Outside, where the fish come out, I noticed birds and even a sea lion hanging around the area, looking like they were waiting for fish to appear. It really shows how connected this whole ecosystem is. The salmon are trying to make their journey upstream, and the birds and sea lions know exactly where to wait. While I was down below at the fish ladder, the water had been filling up the locks. A few minutes later, the locks were at full water level even with the lake, and boats were released to head out. A few days later, it was time to actually take the dinghy in for service at Waypoint Marine. So Ken, Lexi, and I loaded up and left Elliott Bay Marina by Dinghy. We cruised along the shoreline with beautiful views of Discovery Park and the Point Lighthouse. Discovery Park is Seattle's largest park, more than 500 acres of forest, bluffs, beaches, and hiking trails overlooking Puget Sound. As we continued toward Ballard, we passed Ray's Boathouse, one of Seattle's classic waterfront seafood restaurants on Shilshoe Bay that we'd had lunch at the week before. It's such a recognizable spot from the water, with views out over Puget Sound and the Olympic Mountains. We passed homes along the water as we made our way toward the locks. Because it was low tide, we noticed a speedboat sitting up on a lift outside someone's house. At high tide, it probably looks like it's right over the water, but at low tide, it was really obvious how much the water level can change on the Puget Sound side. When we got to the Ballard Locks, we had to wait outside for a while because other boats were already inside. We floated there with a couple of kayakers while boats came out towards us. While we were waiting, these little white, translucent, jellyfish-looking animals floated by in the current. Some were about the size of my palm, and others were smaller. They were most likely moon jellies, which are common in Puget Sound and the Salish Sea, or possibly crystal jellies, which are also nearly transparent and found in this area. They drift with the current and feed on tiny plankton and other small marine life. They look delicate and almost unreal as they float by. The locks opened, and the boats coming from Lake Union came out into Puget Sound. We saw this large silver research vessel with King County Research written on it. The boat is named SoundGuardian. It's used to monitor the health of local waters, including Puget Sound, Lake Washington, and the Duwamish River. Once the light turned green, the larger research vessel was directed in first. We followed behind it, and the kayakers followed behind us. This time, we went through the small boat lock. Once we were inside, the lock attendants called down instructions to Ken and me about which cleats to tie our lines to. They told us to tie the stern line first and then the bow line. We were tied directly to the wall, not to another boat. So once we were secure, we just waited while the lock filled with water. In the large lock, if you're tied to the wall, you don't keep untying and retying your lines, but you do have to constantly tend them. As the water rises or falls, you take in or let out line so the boat stays controlled. If you cleat off too tightly or stop paying attention, the boat can get pulled awkwardly against the wall or drift into another boat, which is why going through the locks can feel a little stressful. It's really interesting to experience the locks from inside a boat. The water slowly rises, and the floating tie-up points move up with the water level. You're sitting there in this concrete chamber, tied to the side, and then little by little, you're lifted up until you're level with the freshwater side of the canal. Lexi was very relaxed about the whole thing. First, she sat on Ken's lap and watched everything happening around us. Then she came over to sit with me for a while. She may be small, but she's become a pretty good little boat dog and loves being out on the water. After the water level came up, the gates opened and we were cleared to leave. We motored out into the freshwater side of the ship canal. As we headed out, we passed an Argosy Cruises boat waiting outside, getting ready to go through the locks in the opposite direction and head out towards Puget Sound. The locks are fun because you see everything from kayaks and dinghies to yachts, tour boats, fishing boats, research vessels, and commercial traffic all using the same system. Before continuing on, we stopped for a minute to give Lexi a treat. One of the lock attendants had tossed down a dog biscuit for her, which might have been her favorite part of the whole trip. From there, we continued through the canal toward Waypoint Marine, where we were leaving the dinghy to be serviced. As we pulled up to their dock, we could see the dry stack storage racks. In Seattle, a lot of smaller boats are kept in dry stack moorage, those tall metal rack systems where a marine forklift lifts boats in and out of storage. Later, we were back on Lady Georgia, and Ken was enjoying a cigar on the flybridge with the downtown Seattle skyline in the distance. He was also watching World Cup soccer on TV, which feels like the perfect combination of summer in Seattle: boating, sunsets, and soccer. That evening was June 15, 2026, and there was an interesting sky just after sunset. Low in the western sky, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter were all grouped together shortly after sunset. The next day, we were on our way home. Inside the main atrium, SeaTac Airport had created a World Cup viewing area right inside the central terminal. They had turf laid down like grass, people sitting around watching the match, tables along the edges, and a big screen showing World Cup soccer. It was such a fun surprise to see the World Cup atmosphere continue all the way to the airport. We scored a great table just outside the viewing area, and Lexi had the perfect perch. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.